Well, g'day everybody, welcome back to Outdoors with BT. I'm BT, but you can call me Brian, and today we're indoors in my shed again. I have another little project which I have to do. It's not a very big one, but there's a few steps involved. Now, I don't know how many of you blokes use a shaving brush to shave these days, but I do. And I bought some shaving brushes, I bought a shaving brush, and I dropped it on the floor and it broke. So I bought another one. I tried really hard not to drop it on the floor, but I did, and it broke too. With the main fault being that the knot comes out of the handle. Now, they aren't cheap to buy, but they're obviously very cheaply made. The handle is just plastic, and the knot is just glued in by means of whatever glue they use, and a little plastic collar. So anyway, my task today is to fashion a new handle and get rid of this rubbish plastic one. My idea is to fashion a new handle out of some wood and some resin. To do this, I need a number of things. Obviously I need the knot from the shaving brush, I need some timber, I've got a little bit of red gum here and a bit of red gum burl. I haven't quite decided which one I'm going to use. We'll cross that bridge when I get to it. I need some resin glue or UV resin and a light to cure that. I need some resin. In this case I've got some Just Resin, good Australian company. I've got some slow set resin here, gives me a bit more working time. And just to be a bit fancy, I've got a few colour additives to put in the resin. Some red, green and blue. They don't call them that, it's called sangria green and cerulean blue. Obviously I'm going to need something to mix the resin in. Okay, so I've decided to go with a bit of the red gum burl. I've cut it to a very rough shape on the bandsaw, just the right shape to fit in a cup and mix up with some resin. What I'll do now is mix some resin, add it to this bit of red gum here and then stick it in the pressure pot overnight. Now I've got to mix up some resin. Now the Art Cast resin from Just Resin that I'm using requires a 3:1 ratio, so there's not much left in there, but hopefully I've got enough to complete this project anyway. These cups that I've got are marked on the side to give me an easy guide to the ratio required. So I've mixed the resin and I've poured it in the cup with the piece of wood. As you can see, it's quite a nice colour blue, and I've chucked some of that green and red sparkly stuff in there just for a bit of added extras. What I'm going to do now is take it over to the pressure pot and put it in there and pressure it up. Okay, so it's in the pressure pot. I don't know if you can read that, it's about 60 kPa, and I set it a bit high because this has got a very slow leak in it, so I give it some extra to allow for the slow leak. I'll leave this here now overnight, and I'll come back tomorrow, and we'll finish the project tomorrow. Okay, see you then. Bye. Well, good day folks, we're back. It's the next day. You might remember that I said that there's a slow leak in my pressure pot. You can see that we're right down now to about 10 psi from 60. Okay, so I've taken this out of the pressure pot. It's set very well overnight. Looks like most of the sparkly bits have sunk to the bottom, but there is a fair distribution throughout the mould. All I have to do now is try and get it out of this plastic cup, and then stick it on the lathe and turn it down into a handle. Okay, so I'll get on with that now. You can see now that I've got it chucked up in the lathe, and what I intend to do is to turn it down to about the right size for a shaving brush handle. I'll go and take some dimensions off the old one and transfer them onto this one. Okay folks, so I've turned the piece down to a size and shape that I'm comfortable with. I've managed to maintain a good ratio of wood to resin, which is good. I like that. What I'm going to do now is get the sanding materials out, and I'm going to sand it right up the grits, and I'll finish with some car polish or metal polish. Because that does a really good job on polishing the resin. Okay, what I'm going to do now is wet sand with some wet and dry emery paper, get all those marks out. I'll go right up to 1200 grit, and then I've got some pads there which go up to the tens of thousands, and I'll put a couple of those over it before I polish it up with the metal polish. Okay, so I think I'm happy with that now. I'm just going to cut that off, and I'll go and drill a hole in the top of it so I can glue the knot in. But yeah, it's come up pretty well actually. So I've drilled a hole in the top of the handle using a 22mm Forstner bit, and I've glued the knot into the top of there using this stuff here, which I bought off Evil Bay. Now it will cure in the sun. You just put it out in the sun for a few minutes, or you can use one of these torches, these UV lights, and that helps to cure the resin glue as well. I'm just going to go and sit this outside for a few minutes. It's pretty warm outside, so I'll go and do that. It's the finished shaving brush. Now the handle itself is a little bit smaller than the original one, but it's a bit thicker, and obviously it's much nicer to look at. I think the mixture of resin to wood is pretty good actually. As I said earlier, it's just the right mix, I think. Well, that's the end of another video, folks. I'm pretty happy with the result. A bit of red gum burl and some resin, and I've produced a really nice little handle for this shaving brush. It's probably worth more now than it was when I bought it, to be honest, with this little bit of handiwork. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. I'd appreciate that too. And thanks very much to all those people who are already subscribers. I am getting warm. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's about 34 degrees outside, and my shed is like an oven, so I've got to get out of here. Thanks very much again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. BT out.